What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the jungle. We are brought to you, as always, by the Blue Wire Podcast Network, and of course, part of the Riverfront. I'm your host, Joe Farsing. Alongside me is Parker Fields. Parker, what's going on, bud?
Not much. Watched the NBA draft last night. It's really the only thing going on in sports right now outside of baseball. So it's kind of a dry period for the sports world right now, honestly.
We have the rolling Red Legs to talk about again. We were out for a week. So, we didn't have an episode last week. This week, we're back, and the Reds are back to sucking again.
Yeah, we had that week of hope.
They were fun, and Ellie's playing really, really well, and so's India, but the rest of the team is kind of flaming hot garbage, and this is when the long, interminable NFL offseason really makes its mark. When you don't have, when the Reds aren't, technically they're in playoff contention because the National League is just flaming hot garbage. Everybody's within 3 games of the last wild card spot, but the Reds suck. Even if they make the playoffs, they're not doing anything unless they miraculously make some acquisitions. But it's like, can we just get to something interesting? Just get to the beginning of training camp. I know it's still boring anymore. Even the preseason games are boring because you don't get to see much at all of the starters. But let's just get to NFL season. Let's just get rolling here, right?
Literally, because how long is it till training camp now? About a month away. Not too bad, but still.
Yeah.
Even training camp though, regular season still, we got 2.5 months. It's just a long time. It feels like it really does.
Yeah, 6 weeks of camp, and it's like just to get it moving. Can we just? I've got a vacation coming up in a few weeks. I'm just going to take a long vacation from now until September. That sounds great. I'll just take a cruise, go around the world. That sounds. Let's just do that instead.
Agreed.
So, anyway, do a favor, like, subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Rate us on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you watch it. 5 stars only. If you don't like us, shut your damn dirty mouth. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/RiverfrontCincy. Subscribe for as low as $2 a month. Going to be updating the tiers here. We got some new cool stuff coming, and we'll announce that as it gets rolling out. So, also, we are, as we speak, this is Thursday afternoon. We are 9 days away from the live show at Smoke Justice. Going to be so cool. Tim Dano's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Parker's going to be there. Seth Shanner's going to be there. Pretty much all of your favorite, I'm nobody's favorite. I'm not even my own family's favorite, but all of us talking heads that are available to be there will be there at Smoke Justice, July 6th, 12 to 2 p.m. Have fun with us. Have a drink. Have some smoked meats with us, and then go walk across to watch the Reds lose to Detroit Tigers. Sounds like a good time, right?
Yeah, it sounds like a good time. I hope we can win one of those that game versus the Tigers, though. I hope, but we'll see.
Tigers aren't very good, and then again, neither are the Reds. Hey, Marte comes back today, so we got that going for. Reds have that going for them.
He does come back today.
So, real quickly, a little bit of news and notes. Again, we haven't been here in 2 weeks, so most of this stuff happened last week. Ted Karras signs an extension, keeps him here through 2025. That's a good sign. He's been he's not an all-pro or Pro Bowl player, but he's a solid center. He's a team leader, very vocal, awesome on the philanthropic front. This is a good deal, right? And this just makes sense. Too much sense, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a team-friendly contract. Definitely agree. A deal that works out in our favor, and we need a long-term center. Or not long-term, but a couple more years of him, and I like this for sure.
Yeah, they drafted Matt Lee out of University of Miami, the U, in the 7th round, and he's got promise, and I think he's got a chance to be an NFL caliber, starting caliber center, but he's also a 7th rounder for a reason. This gives you another year to figure out what to do, and they can just keep extending Karras if they want to. He seems really happy here, so.
Yep.
A little bit of shocking just in terms of when it happened. T. Higgins signs his franchise tender a full 2 months before Jesse Bates III signed his. Jesse Bates signed his franchise tender towards the latter part of training camp in 2022. After games that even happened, I think it was right before the last preseason game, if I'm not mistaken. So T's going to be here through all of training camp. It's this year. He's all about business. He understands. He knows the business. Maybe they can work something out long term. Don't think it's going to happen, but he knows he needs to be on from day one on the same page as the rest of the offense. He needs to put forward a big season for number one for the team, but second off, again, he's going into a free agency year when he's got a potential $25-30 million per year contract looking at it in front of him. So it's nice to see. You don't even have to worry about it. He's in camp. No distractions or anything. But no, when's T going to be there? No one has to answer questions. JaMarr doesn't have to answer dumb questions in press conferences. Burrow doesn't have to deal with it. So he's there. Let's get rolling.
Agreed. 100% agree with you. I think it's awesome to see that T signed this early. I also saw that he was on a vacation with JaMarr Chase like a week ago, so that was kind of a good sign. I saw that.
Yeah.
So doesn't seem like there's any problems there, obviously. And it seems like he's ready to play this season out and then see what happens after the season. As far as
he looks weird because he cut his hair. Like he doesn't have the
he doesn't have braids anymore.
Yeah, the braids of the road, whatever he had, and he looks a lot younger. You see pictures of him when he was back, like a freshman at Clemson, and he looks back to that age. So
yeah, he does.
Nice to be able to put that, go back into the time machine and roll back the odometer a little bit.
Yeah, and Higgins is still just 25 recently, so
yeah.
he's still real young. Chase just turned 24. Like these guys are both super young still. That's why I do want us to keep Higgins somehow, but we'll see what happens in the future with that.
Yeah, I think they're preparing for life one way or the other. Yeah. If they can keep him around, awesome. Then you have two legitimate like studs at 1 and 2. But if they aren't able to come up with something in the next between now and March, then I think they're preparing to have guys in place that they're not out, looking for number 2 receiver on the open market or trying to being forced to overdraft somebody next year in the draft. So, again, keeping good players on your roster is always ideal. So I would not be upset if they were able to make something, get something long term here the last few bits before they have a chance. So,
yeah.
Last little bit of news here, and this is going to be awesome. HBO Hard Knocks in season, which is brand new. It's going to feature the entire AFC North, all 4 teams. Following obviously the Bengals, Browns, Steelers, and Ravens. That premieres December 3rd. So that's going to be really cool. And especially, that's a lot of the late season or a lot of the divisional matchups are late season as well. So you're going to be able to see both teams preparing to get ready for these late matchups. So that seems like that's going to be really awesome. Bengals have been the featured team twice. It's been 2013, I think. 2013, I think.
2013 or 2014, one of those years. Something.
It
like
was, that. Yeah, it was 2013. It was.
James Harrison was there. I remember that.
Yeah.
So 2013, I want to say was when.
Yeah, because it was 2009 was the first time. The 2013 because it was Gio Bernard's rookie year because they made a big deal of him driving his fiance at the time's mom's minivan to and from camp. So, it'd be kind of cool. Just again, you're just seeing how. Comparing each and every team side by side, just the preparation and kind of behind the scenes and everything. So and
it's probably going to be a race like down to the wire, honestly, for the division. So it's going to be interesting because all those teams, honestly, are probably going to be alive for the division at the time it starts recording and stuff.
Yeah, and unless one team has a major injury or anything like that, these are all. It's the best conference or the best division in NFL. It's been that way for several years, and it's sure as hell not changing. At least when you look at talent, 1 through 53 on all 4 teams. No division can even come close to matching up. So,
agreed.
Speaking of AFC North rivals, we have reached the apex. The team the Bengals are chasing right now, the Baltimore Ravens, and are previewing the enemy series here. This episode is titled "What the Flock" because Ravens flock and they can just go flock off. There was a lot of departures from the Ravens, and I think obviously they're still talented, but if anybody's going to take a step back, it's probably going to be them, right?
I would say yes, but at the same time, like if Lamar's healthy, they've proven just to be a dominant regular season team pretty much no matter what. Like if he's on the field the whole time, they're going to win 11 or 12 games, I'd say.
Yeah.
Without doubt. So I don't know. That's why I think the Bengals, they got to win 12 or 13 games if they want to win the division. They have to.
Bengals have to go 4-2 in the division. They need to do a lot better in division than they have the last couple of years. I would say real briefly, we'll talk about who's coming and going, but the list of names that have left is pretty long. Most notable,
a lot of charges.
Yeah. Most notable, I think, I think the biggest loss isn't even on the field. It's Mike Macdonald, defensive coordinator, is now the head coach for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, his defense has shown to be elite when he's running the defense. He's shown to be able to slow down some of the best quarterbacks in the league, and that's definitely a big loss for them.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms, I mean, it helps when you have all pro players at multiple levels, but he's a fantastic schemer, and he's given Joe Burrow some fits over the years. So not sad to see that guy out. Zach Orr promoted from inside linebacker coach. Zero play calling experience thus far, but
he's also barely 30 years old. He's 31 years old.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was in coaching. I thought he was still an active player. The Ravens are a really good organization from the top down, so they're not just throwing the guy out there on a boat with no oars and saying figure it out. So they've got a system around. I don't think there's going to be any issues. I think he's going to be just fine. But it's a big change going from Bengals are doing the same thing, losing their offensive coordinator to a head coach. So I mean, there is that uncertainty. Are they going to change schemes? Are they going to move stuff around? So it's going to be a little bit different. Because obviously, he's going to want to do throw in his own little bit of a wrinkle. So to be curious to see what this looks like from week 1 to week 17, 18, when everyone's completely comfortable with what's going on. Their associate head coach and defensive line coach, Anthony Weaver, left to go join the Miami Dolphins. Again, just another, associated, those are the guys that are the most trusted coaches to your head coach. And they're the guys that helps out with the challenges and things like that. And you have a team that you look at his position coach for the defensive line, they've got a really good defensive line. They need someone that's going to step in and replace him that can mesh with the guys that are there and not take a step back. So again, like, these are, behind the scenes losses, but these aren't small. These aren't insignificant moves.
I agree. I don't think, yes, I definitely 100% think coaching matters drastically and everything like that. But I do think that culture the Ravens have in place does mean something. And like I said, they're still probably going to win 11 to 13 games this season, to be honest with you. And I don't know. The big question with them, honestly, is just, can they get it done in the playoffs, which just hasn't been shown really since they won the Super Bowl. And they've been a top tier seed a lot.
Yeah. It's funny because the Bengals are the only team in the past handful of years in the division that have actually been able to do anything in the playoffs.
Yeah. The Ravens have won a game here and there, but
I think Lamar's 2-5 in the playoffs, 2-4 in the playoffs.
2-4. Yeah, and then I think their team record is 2-6 in the playoffs since he's been the quarterback. Because I think Huntley started 2 games.
Yeah, they lost against the Bengals, and then another season. I don't know if it was Huntley, but it was someone.
Somebody else started. Yeah.
So, but yeah, and Steelers, they're in the playoffs or on the threshold of the playoffs every year, but they haven't done shit since their last Super Bowl win either. And the Browns are the Browns and have only made the playoffs twice in the past 30 years. So
yeah, I'm looking right here. Tomlin always they talk about what Tomlin has done since he took over the Steelers and everything like that. Since Harbaugh took over, they've only had 1 losing season. So they went 5-11 in 2015. I'm assuming Flacco must have gotten hurt or something if they went 5-11 that year. But outside of that, it just shows both of these teams have been that good for that long. And a lot of these years are 9-8, 10-7, but they're just consistently, in that wild card hunt, stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, that 2000, the Ravens that year, Ryan Mallett started 2 games, Jimmy Clausen started 2 games, Matt Schaub started 2 games, Flacco only started 10. So
I'll be honest, I don't remember the Ravens ever being 5-11 since I've been watching football, but apparently in 2015, our best year outside of the Super Bowl year, in terms of regular season and stuff, I don't remember. Apparently they sucked. I don't remember that, but
they lost. 4 of the last 5 games. I mean, I guess they were still only 4-7 at that point. So
yeah,
that was an ugly season. But yeah, they turned it around. Again, it's because they've got the organization. They have smart people that run the draft, smart people that run the player personnel for free agency and scouting their own players. So it's rare to get somebody from their organization that is, that they'll let get free agency. I mean, Bengals are hoping that Geno Stone's that guy that that they just couldn't hold on to that they let free, because usually they keep their best players around. Justin Madubuike, we'll get around to him when we talk about the defense, but they know what they're doing, and it's frustrating that you have 2 organizations in the division that year in year out know what they're doing. At least you always have the wild card Browns. On players that have left, Moses Morgan to New York Jets, Patrick Queen, talked about him going to Steelers. Lost both their starting offensive guards. Kevin Zeitler to Detroit, John Simpson to New York Jets. Jadeveon Clowney, who was fantastic as a situational pass rusher, never mind ending Burrow's season. Carolina Panthers, Gus Edwards, Gus Bus has gassed up and driven to LA, play for the Chargers. And again, Geno Stone to the Bengals. Who do you think player-wise is their biggest loss?
I'd say player-wise, probably Clowney. Like, seriously, because, I mean, a pass rusher like that, he's coming off a very good year last year, too. It was one of his best years of his career, even this late into his career. And, I mean, pass rushers, we know, like, if you have a good pass rusher, you want to hold on to it. So, honestly, probably Clowney, if he doesn't regress, and I'm assuming he's not going to regress that much because he's honestly been better as he's gotten older. So, I'd say Clowney, I guess.
Only thing that I'm kind of looking maybe at Geno Stone, that's probably me just being a Bengals homer, is that part of it is, and we'll get in, like, their cornerbacks aren't very good.
No,
they're really not. Like, their name, like when you hear the names, like, oh, these guys are good. Like, look at the numbers, they're not good, and especially historically against the Bengals, Marlon Humphrey's been absolute dog shit. And having guys on the back end, we saw last year what happens when you lose guys you trust on the back end. I mean, they still have Kyle Hamilton, who's probably the best coverage safety in the NFL after only 2 seasons. But losing that guy, just the trust, that makes a huge difference. Even if you have solid corners, just having that, just having the communication and having trust that guy's going to be there. I think that's going to be a huge individual loss. I think in terms of units, the offensive line, they lost 3 starters, Zeitler, John Simpson, and Moses Morgan. Their offensive line has taken a big step back. We'll touch on that here in just a little bit. I think that's going to be the biggest specific unit that's been hit hard. They've pretty much just promoted guys from there. They didn't fill in through free agency. So just quick thoughts on that. I think Patrick Queen is good but overrated. Gus Edwards, again, it
like
doesn't
we
matter.
We talked about the one day. Also, like you were about to say, the Ravens running back, it seems literally it makes no difference who the hell they throw back there.
Exactly.
100%. It's the scheme and everything else they're blocking. But who was I talking about? Patrick Queen. We talked about this last episode. His name sounds better than the player he is. Like when you hear Patrick Queen, you think of like Pro Bowl, All-Pro player for some reason. I don't know why, but that's just kind of where your head goes.
And that wasn't him. I mean, it took him several years even to get his footing. And I mean, he's fine. I mean, again, he's not terrible, but he's not that guy that obviously they were hoping he was going to be when they drafted him. So again, not that that's a insignificant loss or anything, but I just don't think it's by far and away their biggest loss. So who's in? Really only 2 major names that they brought in. First one's a huge name and a huge person, Derrick Henry, running back, obviously late of the Tennessee Titans. He had one of his best years in his career last year, 29, most of the season at 29 years old. But he's also, you're expecting that he's going to be more of the, I won't say bell cow because no one really runs that, but I mean, every year, like
Derrick Henry, I feel like they'll make him a bell cow still because I mean, this guy's used to getting 25 carries a game. Like last season, he's gotten like 25 carries per game.
And the only reason that I say that I hedge a little bit is that because of his age, and they had Ty J. Spears, who I would have loved to have gotten that guy. They kind of took it easy. I mean, they put him a little bit on a pitch count and used him less because he's got so many carries. They're not real deep in the backfield anymore. Several guys that they had are gone, but obviously Gus Edwards being the main one, but he's still, I think he's still at least going to have at least a couple productive seasons there. He signed a gigantic contract.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing with Henry, because I mean, we talk about like running backs usually once they get to like 28, they start declining a lot. I mean, sometimes even hell, Zeke started declining at like 26.
Yeah. You get to the end of that first contract and you're borrowed time.
Yeah, but there's always exceptions when you're an all-time great at your position, which Derrick Henry's going to end up probably being a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. If he puts up 2 or 3 more years, 1,000-yard years, he's probably a first-ballot Hall of Famer. And I think that's Derrick Henry. I just think he's a specimen. I think he's got 2 or 3 more years playing at a very elite level and going to have 1,200 yards a season for 2 or 3 more years. I really do. It hurts me to say that, like to be saying a Ravens signing's really good, but I think this is a damn good signing, and it's going to help their offense even more. And they've never even had, like, the last elite running back the Ravens had was Ray Rice.
Yeah.
Ray Rice, which we all know what happened there, but that was the last good running back they had. Like, last time they didn't have the platoon system in.
They can't keep guys healthy, and that's part of it. Like, they would have liked to have had someone be, obviously not 25, 30 carries a game, but have someone carry 20 times a game. But the guys just keep going in and out of the lineup because they can't stay healthy. It's weird, but then they keep grabbing guys. I mean, Mark Ingram, they'll grab guys just off the street and have productive seasons for them. At least productive enough to, to keep his, this isn't 1975. You're not running the ball 35, 40 times as a team, but having a guy who can at least be efficient enough to churn out yards and to keep the defenses a little bit honest.
Yeah. Here, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I think it's just going to be hard. The run game, like those read option plays, I think it's going to be hard to hedge either Lamar's way or Derrick Henry. Like, those plays are going to be a hard read for defenses. And, I mean, the Bengals have struggled in the run game in the past. I think we're going to struggle versus the Ravens run game. I just have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of a problem.
At the very least for the first meeting, maybe by later in the season when they play them again. But earlier in the season, it'll be rough. I mean, the Bengals are trying to revamp their defense on the fly, so it could get ugly if Bengals offense doesn't come out and get a lead.
Also, Henry's never played in a run scheme like this, or like last year the Titans' offensive line was horrible.
Yeah,
and he still put up 4.3 yards a carry. Yeah, on almost 300 carries. So I mean, still very good numbers even at this point of his career. So
yeah,
just nuts. He still can run like that with the amount of carries he's been getting every year.
It's the size that absolutely just like blows me away. I mean, he's listed 6'3", 247, and bigger guys, those are the guys that seem to wear down faster because I mean, just the wear and tear on their knees. I mean, this is a guy who has 2,000 carries in his career.
Yeah.
And never mind how many receptions does he have in his career? Another 155. So, I mean, we're talking 2,200 times with the ball in his hand, getting hit, however many times, bouncing off tackles. Again, you expect these guys at this age, at this stage in the career, even if they've been as productive as he's been up to this point, they're going to start slowing down. Again, seems to be the exception, like the Adrian Peterson, the guy that can play into his 30s. But at some point, it's going to start wearing him down, you would assume. But just don't count on it until it happens.
He might be the LeBron of the NFL.
Going to be playing in the league when his kid jumps in.
Yeah, like I legitimately could see Derrick Henry though playing like still as a starting running back to 35. I could see a world with that happening.
I think
it'll happen, but I could see it.
See, I think he should learn how to play in line and play as a tight end. That way, he still has the explosive ability. I don't know how good of an actual
route runner
and everything he is, but I mean, extend that way. I mean, he's 6'3". It's not like he's that short for a tight end. So, and he's got the size and bulk. So,
and the impressive part just is the fact he's only missed games in one season his whole career. I mean, the rest of his career, it's 16 games every year or 15. So he's missed one game a season. The only times he's missed games outside of one season. So durability is crazy too.
Exactly. The only other starter or even high impact player that they brought in was, he's definitely not high impact, but I think he's going to be starting. Josh Jones, who's projected to be or penciled to be their starting left guard from Houston. Again, I can't speak much to how good he actually looks. I can only look at grading services and stuff like that. His PFF score is terrible, and he's barely played any tackle or barely played any guard in the league. We'll get into that a little more when we get to on the positional breakdown, but that line's going to take a huge step back this year. So that's the one thing that you can hedge on with Henry. Yeah, you have the.
It's probably why they went out and got a guy like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, someone that can deal with having a kind of a weak offensive line that isn't going to slow him down too much. He's not too reliant on gaping holes. The guy will create his own holes because he's the size of half the guys on the offensive line.
Agreed.
So. All right.
Snore?
Time to break. What's that?
I said, did you snore?
That was the tiger growl. Starting on offense. Again, positional breakdown here. Quarterback Lamar Jackson, second MVP, coming off his best passing grades, seasonal passing grade per PFF. Statistically, only second right behind his unanimous MVP season in 2019. He's got a 58-19 regular season record, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he hasn't been able to translate that into the playoffs and how he doesn't have a ring. But yeah, again, he's only 2-4 in the playoffs. He's elite weeks 1 to 18, and he's pretty poor in the playoffs. 6 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, 57% completion percentage. I mean, what's there to really say?
They play drop zone coverage a lot more in the playoffs, and then they sit back and make him. Because once they get down, he just hasn't shown the ability to come back yet. That's been his big issue.
Yeah,
the season they just kind of pounce on teams early and have a lead, and then.
Yeah, I mean RPOs and everything aren't as effective when you're down 2 scores, and people just aren't respecting their letting a lot of bodies to stop the run. But is this who he is? I mean, he's still young. I mean, he's still a really, really young player. But is this just kind of who he's going to be like for the rest of his career? A guy who's absolutely elite in the regular season, but just turns into average, Andy Dalton when it comes to playoff time?
I still think there's another gear Lamar could definitely get to in his career, but at this point, there's no evidence that proves he's not that guy currently.
And you figure, I mean, even one season Burrow hasn't played his best ball in the playoffs. Part of that has to do with the fact that a terrible offensive line is playing much better defenses.
They've also played some really good defenses in the playoffs, and he's made the plays when he had to. A lot of those games, like he just his numbers weren't the best, but he made a lot of great plays in those games.
Yeah, I mean, he's still completing over 60%. Probably I don't know the specific numbers. I don't have Burrow's numbers up because we're talking about the Ravens, but I mean, well over 60% of passes and everything, and more touchdowns than interceptions. But Burrow's yet to have a regular season on the level of some of the seasons that Lamar Jackson has put up. So it's interesting. I don't know if this is the season that it's going to all come together because they've taken step backs at other spots on their roster in terms of being able to break through in the playoffs, right? I just don't think it's this year.
Yeah, I really don't think it is either. I just think that the Bengals are going to be I truthfully think this without even being a homer. I think the Bengals are going to click this year for the first time, like throughout the season. I really do. I really have a belief of that. Now, and I just think the Chiefs too are too damn good. I don't see them beating a healthy Bengals team or the Chiefs in the playoffs. I just don't see it happening. I think for Lamar to break through, it's just I don't like Derrick Henry makes them a better squad, but I just think the passing game needs to improve, and he still doesn't have that number one receiver. He still doesn't have that. Like, Zay Flowers is good, but is he going to be, that number one guy? I don't know about that.
And
they should have got D-Hop. They should have gotten DeAndre Hopkins. But
and we'll get into that here in a minute when we get to the wide receivers, but their wide receiver room's taking a step back. So they still have Josh Johnson around for a backup quarterback who I'm surprised he's only 38 years old. You could have told me that he was 48 years old, and I would have believed it. He's been in the league. Well, actually, he's been in and out of the league, but I mean, been on half the teams in the league. I mean, incredibly smart guy, can pick up the playbook in the middle of the week, and start like he did a few. Was that 2 years ago? But I mean, reliable. But
he's 2 years ago. Yeah, are you talking about for the Niners?
Yeah,
is that what it was? Yeah.
I think it was the Niners. I know someone that again got picked up in the middle of the week and then ended up starting. Baker Mayfield did that 2 years ago too. That's crazy to be able to do that and pick up enough of the playbook to be able to function.
That's absurd that they could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how quarterbacks can do that.
I have no idea. But Josh Johnson is not winning games. If Lamar Jackson is out for 4 to 6 weeks, they'll be lucky to split. You're looking maybe 1-3, 2-4 if it's a 6 week or something like that. And there's just such a drop off, and he can't run the offense that Lamar Jackson can. Jake Browning at least can be Joe Burrow light, and they don't have to completely alter the offense.
Agreed. They don't have to switch everything around when Jake Browning's in there. I agree with you, and I mean we saw that last year.
Yeah, to the much surprise of everybody, especially after watching the absolute shit show. That was the backup quarterback derby in training camp.
Yeah,
and
literally.
Jake Browning won by default because Trevor Siemian was just freaking awful. And then you throw him in a game like, holy crap, this guy can actually play. Behind Josh Johnson, they undrafted free agent Emory Jones from UC. And as a UC fan, I would love to see that guy under center for the Ravens because he was a poor college quarterback at three different schools.
He was at I know him from Florida more than UC. I mean, I know he was at UC this year, but I know him as Florida's quarterback about 4 years ago.
Florida, then
Arizona State.
Florida went to Arizona State for 2 years, then came to UC, and just wasn't the guy. And
He wasn't drafted, was he?
No, undrafted free agent.
I was about to say.
He's got raw ability. I mean, he can throw the ball far and, can run the ball. So maybe as someone who can kind of run a scaled down version of Lamar Jackson, but he has zero touch, that doesn't have the accuracy that Lamar Jackson does. So I would love to see that guy get snaps. Running back, we don't need to touch too. We already just touched on this. Derrick Henry turns 30 in a few weeks, but coming off another strong season. Age-related decline will happen some point, but I don't think it's this year. And then Patrick Ricard, who is one of the few fullbacks. So the fullbacks are making a bit of a comeback. I don't think the Bengals are going to have one while Joe Burrow is under center.
Have we ever had one? Like, I'm trying to think. Ryan Hewitt?
Ryan Hewitt, I think, was the last. Was the last time. My cat is climbing on my.
I was about to say, was that his name, Ryan Hewitt?
Yeah, that was. He was a tight end, number 89. I think he was drafted or undrafted free agent from Stanford. Started as a tight end, right? and then they converted him to a tight end, and I think that might have been the last time they had a tight end. Yeah. Like I'm thinking Jeremy Johnson, but Jeremy Johnson was like 2005, long time ago. So, do you mind, Sorry, my cat is brushing up against the microphone. So if you hear static, it's this pudgy guy here. On the wide receivers, I don't know what I thought last year they were going to have a solid wide receiving crew, and they were fine. Odell Beckham was okay. Zay Flowers had a really promising rookie season, 850 yards. He's tiny. He's 5'9", 182 pounds. So yeah, he can fly, and he's a deep threat. Can someone that small that isn't like Steve Smith? I mean, he's not built like Steve Smith. Can he be a number one target? Can he run the full route tree?
I don't know yet. I think that's just TBD still.
Yeah.
I would say that's still TBD because I'm not going to say he can't, but I'm not going to say he can yet either. So we'll see on that.
And there's no one else in the room to push him. Rashad Bateman is in his 4th year out of Minnesota. He's yet to make a major mark. Struggles with his hands. He flashes. I mean, he'll have some games. You're like, okay, this is a dude, and then
First round
he'll disappear. Yeah, first rounder out of Minnesota, and then for a couple weeks he'll disappear, and you look like this guy should be making. You've got a quarterback with an absolute cannon that can create plays, especially when when he gets out of the pocket. You should be able to. I mean, you should be able to do something. Just catch the damn ball, and he struggled. So
yeah, and they still have Aguilar, who had kind of a surprisingly good year last year, 400 yards, not amazing, 4 touchdowns, but what you expect out of 31-year-old Nelson Aguilar, I feel like it was shockingly good. You know what I mean? Are you expecting much more as a number 4 receiver? That's not a bad season from Aguilar last year, especially 35 receptions on 45 targets. So he caught over 80% of his targets then?
Yeah,
or almost 80% of his targets. That's nuts.
Yeah, but he's also someone who just turned 31. They have listed, this is PFF, and I don't know how accurate, for their starting slot receiver, Deontay Hardy. Have you ever heard of Deontay Hardy? Harty with a T.
Yeah, I have, and the only reason is because he had a Madden card. That's the reason I know that is. I know he was an All-Pro, I want to say, as a kick returner on the Saints. Let me look that up if I'm right. Maybe it was an All-Pro. I remember it being really good. I think he was Pro Bowl All-Pro. Look at that. I remember that.
Impressive.
2019, as a kick returner. Yeah. I knew he's super fast, and I think he's 5. Yeah, I was about to say 5'5". He's 5'6", 170.
Yeah.
He's just super fast.
Of note, so this is probably before your time. You probably don't remember Rocket Ismail, do you? No. Wide receiver for played with Notre Dame, played in the CFL, and then played in the NFL as a kick returner. He had a younger brother, Kadri Ismail, who's the missile. So you had the rocket and the missile. His son plays for is a wide receiver on the Ravens. I don't know where he is on the depth chart or anything like that. Kadir, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I just thought that was funny as how I saw the name and had to look it up. Like that's got to be Kadri's son, and it's his son. Came out of Samford. Are they an HBCU? Samford? I know they're FCS.
I don't think they're an HBCU. They might be. I want to say they're not, though. But maybe they are. They might be.
See, now I got to look that up while we're...
Yeah, now I'm curious.
I know.
He's 6'6", 215.
Yeah, he's a big boy. It doesn't say that they're HBCU. They are FCS. So, moving on to tight end room. Mark Andrews. If he's healthy, if he's back to the guy before the Bengals game, I'm short list of best tight ends in the game, right?
Yeah, he's definitely a top 5 tight end, I'd say, in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he was came back to play against Kansas City in the playoffs. The guy's a fantastic receiver, runs routes very crisp, makes the tough catches. And then if he gets hurt again, or even just as a tight end number 2, Isaiah Lively, who everybody loved coming out of Coastal Carolina. It's more or less just a huge wide receiver. He'd be tight end 1 on a lot of teams. Struggles blocking, so he's just a large slot receiver, but really good depth. Like one of the better tight end rooms in the NFL.
Agreed, and I mean he's put up 800 yards across 2 seasons. That's not bad for a backup tight end in his first 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
400 yards a season isn't bad for a backup.
Yeah, and they use their tight ends a lot, and Mark Andrews gets nicked up fairly, most tight ends do anyway. So, and they also have Charlie Kohler, who I liked a lot coming out of Iowa State as their third. He's yet to make much of an impact, but only getting a handful of reps behind two really good guys. I said this before, and this is where I think they have made the biggest step back is on the offensive line. They now have low-level starters at guards. Their tackles are fine. They're solid, unspectacular, and they've got a high-level center, but they're bringing in 3 new starters No, I 2.5. I mean, Patrick McCarry played a fair amount with Moses, Morgan Moses, but this isn't the offensive line that they used to have. And they got Ronnie Stanley at left tackle, much better pass protection than run blocking. Now 30, and now tackles can play well into their 30s and play at a high level. Just look at Trent Williams, who's how old is he? 38.
38. No. I want to say 36. I don't think he's that old. I think he's 36, 35. He'll be 36 in a month.
Okay. I know he's not. I knew he wasn't young. Jason Peters. That's who I'm. Now? Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking was Jason Peters age-wise. I don't think he's active on a team right now.
Yeah, but he was on the Jets last year. He's 43.
Okay, good lord.
He still wants to play, I believe. He was on the
born in January of '82. Wow.
Oh, he's 42. Sorry.
Yeah,
I said 43.
Anyone who was in high school the same time I was is that's impressive that you're still trying to kick around.
Graduate high school 2 years before I was born. God, he's still...
And the guy's still kicking around. We played 8 games last year for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and I don't think he's officially retired. He'll probably end up on a roster. He probably just doesn't want to do training camp and shit at this point, honestly.
I don't blame him one bit. If you can get away from having to do that, by all means, dude. Again, we talked about Josh Jones. He's incoming as came from Houston, where he played tackle. Hasn't played much guard in his career, and he hasn't been very good when pressed into action. Again, things may change. I don't know I don't know if it's an open competition at that spot or not. But again, as you know, the Bengals who beefed up their pass rush, seeing someone that's in the interior of the line that's weak, especially in pass protection, Sheldon Rankins, BJ Hill have to be licking their chops a little bit.
I agree. 100%. I agree with you there.
Yeah. Center Tyler Linderbaum, cornerstone offensive line. He's legit. He was a top level starter the second he was drafted in 2023. So that's one spot to where they have that guy, and he looks like someone who's going to just be the leader, an absolute team leader as well as he gets older and works towards a second contract. Right guard Ben Cleveland, limited playing time in 3 seasons, not very good when inserted. Again, another weak spot in the interior of the offensive line. That's something that they're going to want to get shored up. It helps that you've got a quarterback that's elusive, but nobody escapes quick pressure up the middle. So if those spots are weak, you can't go anywhere. If you're weak on the outside, you can at least mitigate factors. You can have someone chip. You can keep the tight end in. If you're getting pressure, if you're weak up the middle, there's not a lot you can do.
Also, another point about the offensive line being weaker than normal and everything. I still wouldn't call it weak. It's still way better than what the Bengals have had.
Right. Just said weaker and not just not where they were.
But what I will say is one concern with them for that is Lamar. I mean, they're not trying to run Lamar as much as they used to. I mean, we saw it last year. Definitely a drop off in how many times he was rushing the ball. And he's probably going to have to take off a bit more this year if they can't block for him. Yeah.
So, other tackle spot, Patrick McCarry. Again, another guy who's solid when he's on the field, but didn't play all the season. I mean, Ronnie Stanley missed a handful of games. Looks like how many games did? Yeah, McCarry only played a handful of snaps. Only played a handful of snaps in week 7, week 8. Only played 1 snap, and again, he was a part-time player, and now he's a starter. So he's been solid when he's out there, but has someone being the swing tackle to all of a sudden being the starter. That's a big deal. So can he handle holding up to 40 pass reps and 75 snaps a game, week after week after week? So again, I don't expect that they're all of a sudden going to be a sieve in the 2021 Bengals, but definitely not the guy, not what they've.
The 2021 Bengals. Is that the worst offensive line ever for an actual Super Bowl team? It has to be.
It's the baseline for having a competent / contending team while being just an absolute clusterfuck group that's just god awful. So
literally, that squad was playing in the Super Bowl, which is just nuts to even think about.
Most of the guys are out of the league by now. So,
yep. By the way, the NBA draft, I have it on my other monitor, just like pulled up ESPN. It's muted, but all I see is will Bronny James be taken before the 55th pick of the Lakers? That's literally the whole content for the day for the second round.
If I were, and I don't know the, I don't know the draft order, but if I were the Clippers, I would take him just to fuck with him.
Yeah. The Celtics have picked 54, and the Lakers have 55.
They could do the funniest thing ever.
They were saying hold him ransom and make him give him Austin Reeves for Bronny.
Absolutely, just do the funniest thing ever, and I'm here for it. Again, I pray for chaos when it doesn't involve my team, and especially the NBA, which I'm don't have any rooting interest. I want chaos.
I mean, that's how I am. Yeah, anytime it's not my team playing, I just always root for like the underdog or like the most crazy headline situation that can happen. I root for that to happen.
Absolutely.
If my team's not in it.
All right. Moving on to the defense at edge, they have Odafe Owe and Kyle Van Noy. Both the solid pass rushers. Owe was in the top 20 in pass rush win rate per ESPN Analytics. Kyle Van Noy is well-traveled and older, but he's still productive as a situational pass rusher. They don't have that absolute hammer that they've had that you're used to them having, but they're still solid coming off the edge.
Yeah, they just got a bunch of solid guys, like you said, like a bunch of guys that can rotate in and out. Like it's going to be a platoon system on that edge for sure for them. And it's just,
which, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bring those guys in waves, and they're going to be productive, as opposed to what the Bengals have unfortunately done, been forced into playing Hendrickson and Hubbard too often, to where they get worn down when it comes late in the season, or they're battling nagging injuries, so they're just less effective that way.
Yeah, and defensively they're going to be extremely well coached from the jump, so that's definitely going to help them out as well. I mean, Van Noy's been a productive player in this league for so long, and
and in multiple stops.
And he just recently became a pass rusher as he's gotten older. He was not a pass rusher early in his career. He was much more.
No, he was a regular stand-up linebacker. Yeah, he is now. I guess it's going to be year 11 for him. Let's see, Detroit, New England, Miami, back to New England, Chargers.
Yeah, his numbers early in his career. He was a middle linebacker, and he's putting up 1 to 0 sacks per season his first 4 seasons.
Yeah, and they make him a pass rusher, and he's had. Last few years, 6.5, 6, 5, 5, and 9. I swear, I think that the Ravens and the Steelers, for that matter, could scheme up a way so you and I could come away with 3 or 4 sacks this season.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I can get in the backfield. I don't know if I can. Some quarterbacks I can sack, but like Josh Allen, I don't think I could bring Josh Allen down.
I don't know, though. You see little Mike Hilton absolutely destroy him, and Mike Hilton is a $180. Now, Mike Hilton, that's 180 pounds of muscle.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
He's still not a very large man.
He's got that tackling technique, though, too.
Yeah. He knows how to take down someone 60, 70, 80 pounds heavier than he is. Strength of this defense is the defensive line, especially the interior. Justin Madubuike, second-team All-Pro, 13 sacks last season. One reason to kind of this is a guy I was hoping would reach free agency. Not that the Bengals I think would have gotten to him, but just hoping a guy that's that productive would leave the division. Was this last season just I don't want to say a contract year explosion, but he only had 8.5 sacks in his previous 3 years combined. It's just a matter of just having more opportunity and taking advantage of it, or flash in the pan, not flash in the pan, but outlier season.
I think it would just be a little more opportunity taking advantage of it than, flash in the pan outlier, I'd say. Yeah.
And you get into the beefy, big-bodied guys against the run. Michael Pierce, absolute human wall, force against the run, 6 foot, 355 pounds. You cannot single team him. He will just destroy whoever's in front of him, be it if he's head up on the center or, to center guard gap. Like you cannot run the ball right at him if he's man-to-man on him. He'll just destroy that. And either contain the block so the linebacker cleans it up, or just shed him himself and stop the run himself. Travis Jones, younger player, another huge body, 6'4", 338, another good run defender. More of a rotational guy, but again, these are teams that are fantastic finding role players, finding guys for 20, 25 snaps a game. They're gonna do that spot play, fill that role perfectly, and then if it's if they're a pass rusher, run down, they're gonna bring in someone else who's good against run, and they're not gonna get overexposed. So,
yep, I 100% would agree with you. They're kind of like the Miami Heat of football. The Ravens and the Steelers, like just random role players become good on these teams.
Yeah,
especially defensively for these teams.
Yeah, exactly, and frustrating as hell. Linebacker Roquan Smith, All-Pro, his playmaker in coverage and against the run. Trenton Simpson taking over for Patrick Queen, limited reps, but he played well. Again, this is just a spot to where they are very good at. They're both really good in coverage, and again, like we talked about it before, and we'll get to it here in a second when we get to the cornerbacks. Their cornerbacks aren't very good, so the better coverage they're getting from guys underneath and over the top, the less glaring of weakness it does when you get your cornerbacks, or when you get your cornerbacks lined up, matched up man to man. At least you have to move on to different progressions. So
yeah, and I mean Roquan Smith, back-to-back years first team All-Pro, 4 straight years first or second team All-Pro, like one of the best in the business at his position. So I mean, that's about as elite as you can get there. And he's still very young, only 27 years old. And we know a lot of times, like coverage linebackers too, he's going to be able to play at a high level for probably 5 more years. So,
well, and even if even when he ages out, he might struggle a little more against coverage, but he's got the ability that that he can be worked as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
So, or even as just a run stopper. So, I mean, he's got a long time in this league ahead of him.
Great.
On the cornerbacks, and again, Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Stevens, and Arthur Millette is the slot cornerback. They're all 3 graded kind of middle of the pack by PFF in the coverage grade out of like 127. They're all in the 50, 60 range, which is fine, but there's no shutdown corner. Marlon Humphrey has name recognition, missed both games against the Bengals, but in 2022, in the 3 games that he did play against them, playoff game and the 2 regular season games, allowed 11 completions on 12 passes for 105 yards. That's not doing a really good job. Like, hey, great job, you're tackling them so they're not busting loose afterwards. But if you're giving up 11 receptions and 12 passes, you're definitely getting a talking to. I think it was 4 for 4 one game, 4 for 4 the next game, and then 3 out of 4 in the third game. But yeah, in 2021, only played 1 game, allowed 7 receptions out of 10 attempts for 227 yards. That was the JaMarr Chase 201 yards receiving day. A lot of those yards were on that slant when he did the spin. That was the first Burrow game when he threw 4. No, that was the 400 game. He missed the 500 game. He would have gotten roasted on them. That was their excuse. A lot of Ravens fans' excuse for why Burrow threw for over 500 was because Marlon Humphrey wasn't there. He allowed 201 yards in the first game, or 227 yards in the first game. So let's not pretend that would have really mattered. So
agreed.
Again, Marlon Humphrey's just kind of been Bengals whipping boy. So and he's their best corner of them all. So you can get reception on these guys. If you can get the protection to hold up, Burrow's going to be able to find guys open.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely think he's going to be able to do that. And I just think that's definitely the weak spot of their defense, 100%. It's not like horrible, but like you said, Marlon Humphrey at this point is more of a name than he is an elite player.
Yeah. And none of them are particularly good tacklers, too. I mean, that's where the Bengals have stressed, is having good tacklers and in the secondary. And none of the 3 of those guys have graded especially well. They all miss a fair amount of tackles. So and that's where that's where you get burnt, because you're going to give up a pass reception at some point. But if you don't get the guy on the ground, you better pray to at least hold him up to get a safety or another cornerback to help you out, or he's gone. You get someone like JaMarr Smith JaMarr Chase that runs like a running back with the ball in his hands. You can't be missing tackles on those guys. So
yeah, I'm with you there. This is the best part of their team coming up.
Yeah, safety's probably. I mean, yes and no. I mean, they lost Geno Stone again to the Bengals, and again, that's the reason why
the best room of their team, I would say. Not like obviously the quarterback is the best bright spot.
Well, yeah.
But
and then, like I said, with Geno Stone, we're talking about the safeties here. Because your cornerbacks aren't great and they're bad tacklers, you need that back end to be reliable and to be good tacklers and to be able to cover. Losing Geno Stone, they have Marcus Williams who's stepping in. He was played a bunch last year as well, and he's solid. Like, he does well in coverage, not great against the run. But then they have Kyle Hamilton, who's huge, rare position of that size. He's almost not quite as heavy, but almost David Fulcher-esque. 6'4", 220 pounds. He can match the physicality of any tight end. He can match up with any tight end, which helps. Not, you don't have to worry about safety just getting dunked on by 6'5" tight end that can just jump up over top of him. They've got a corner or a safety that can cover that guy, and he can cover man to man. Can cover wide receivers as well if need be.
Yeah, Hamilton's an absolute stud. In your notes here, you put best coverage safety in the game. I don't even think there's any doubt about that. He's a stud in coverage. I mean, you look at all his PFF grades; they rank out amazingly. And Kyle Hamilton's just a freak of nature, truthfully.
Yeah, and that was. I
hated that pick when they got him too. Like, I hated it because I knew he was good.
Yeah, I mean, 14th pick in the first round. I mean, the last 2 years when he was at Notre Dame, you're like, this guy can be a starter right now and be a top end starter in the NFL as an underclass, someone who's 19, 20 years old. So,
yeah.
Specialists, real quickly, Justin Tucker. He's older, still one of the best. He's still kind of a turd, but I mean, the guy just hit a 66-yarder a couple years ago, for Christ's sake. He's got a cannon of a leg.
Goat kicker.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to go down as the best kicker in NFL history. He's not as reliable as he was, but he's still really damn good. What is PFF? I think he was the third rated kicker or something like that. The third rated kicker per PFF or whatever that matters, but he's good. Punter, Jordan Stout, whatever. He doesn't suck. He's not great. Awesome. In summary, again, we talked about it. I mean, this is a talented team, 1-53. They're not, they've taken a step back in sheer talent this year to what they had last year, but they're gonna be in the playoffs. They're gonna win 11 games. Can they do anything come playoff time? We'll see. They start the season on Thursday night against Kansas City. They've got a pretty tough opening, kind of open 5 weeks. Then they have the Raiders, which, Raiders, whatever. At Dallas, home for Buffalo, then at the Bengals for light gets a little bit lighter. But they need to get out. For them, I don't know. It doesn't really matter how they get out of the box.
I don't know. I assume they're gonna have another excellent regular season. Just like what I'm basing off of what usually happens with the Ravens. I'm thinking they'll get off to a fine start.
Yeah, I mean, they can't trip over their dicks and go 1-4 the first 5 or their first 5 games. No. But I mean, if they go 2-3 or 3-2, like, they'll be fine. They'll be able to make up ground.
They do have a tough schedule though out the gate.
Yeah,
they get a nice game in week 2 versus the Raiders, but you got Chiefs, Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, Bengals.
Yeah,
they really could be 1-4.
Right. It wouldn't be like their 3 toughest games are all on the road: at Kansas City, at Dallas, and at Cincinnati. I think Dallas is a tougher matchup than Buffalo, but Buffalo seems like Buffalo's been paper lions for the past few years.
Yeah.
So
I kind of think Buffalo gets off to a better start this year too than they did last year, even without Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen's damn good.
And then they've got a crazy late bye. Their bye's in week 14. Then their last 3, I mean, they come out of the bye and play the Giants, which is kind of like having another bye. But then they finish Steelers at Houston and then Cleveland. So another tough stretch. They've got, if I'm not mistaken, I think they've got a kind of a messed up stretch. Yeah, they play, I guess they don't. I was thinking they had a 3 games in 11-day stretch, but they don't. They play Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, and then Monday. So never mind. I was thinking they played Monday, Sunday, Thursday, but No, they're good there. So nothing stupid like what they did to the Bengals and some other teams, but still, yeah, it's a tough schedule.
Agreed. It's
So,
definitely a tough schedule for them.
but again, I mean, they're going to win 11 games, 12 games, maybe 13 games if things break the right way. If there's an injury to a key injury to someone else in the division, so fuck the Ravens. I of every other team in the division, like I respect them. They're not the dirty cheap shot artists that the Steelers are, and they're not just this like bastion of futility like the Browns. So I respect them. I still just hate them. I hated Ray Lewis. Ray Rice is a piece of shit. Yeah. Still.
Fuck the Ravens.
Fuck the Ravens.
Quote of the day.
Well, just gonna in summary, fuck the Ravens. I don't think I can put that on. I don't think I'm gonna put that on the thumbnail because I don't think YouTube would like that very much. But
in
outside
summary,
of that,
that's what we have to say.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up our series on previewing the enemy here. Any guesses on how the we'll throw it out there on Thursday, June 27th, 1 through 4, how the division's going to play out?
Not trying to be biased, but I'm gonna take us to win the division this year. I think coming off the injury and everything like that, they're gonna be extra motivated to get it this year. I'm gonna take the Ravens at 2. I'm gonna take the Browns at 3, and I'm gonna take the Steelers at 4. And I'm gonna take Browns, Bengals, and Ravens to all make the playoffs, and the Steelers to be like right on the edge at 8-9 or 9-8, right there fighting for a spot too.
I've got the same order. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers finished in 3rd.
Also, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens win the division and we get 2nd and make the wild card. I'm just like, that could go either way. But I do think all 3 of these teams are gonna. I do think the Ravens and Bengals are locks for the playoffs if both teams are healthy.
Right. I mean, again, there's always the caveat.
Both teams. If LeBron,
if he plays for the Ravens, I would be surprised.
If Lamar and Burrow are healthy, both these teams make the playoffs 100%.
Oh, absolutely. I think if Burrow is able to start week 1, no restrictions on anything, if he's able to make it through camp, which he's supposed, I don't know where his rehab is going to be. Like, if he's midway through camp and he has 0 restrictions, 100%, and he gets to game 1 without some stupid ass thing like the calf injury or fucking appendicitis, anything, like this has been 5th season and he's had some shit to deal with every offseason. Either
2020 was just COVID,
right? No OTAs. You had nothing until training camp coming in as a rookie. 2021 coming off of the knee surgery. 2022 he had the appendicitis and the ruptured appendix that caused emergency surgery. Last year he had the calf injury. This year's coming off the wrist, but this year, at least in terms of,
it's been a while since the wrist. It's been 8 months now, 7-8 months. So it's been a while. Yeah,
it was. So in terms of being able to be close to 100%, or at least as close to 100% and ready to roll, I think he's in position for that. But he was there last year. He had there was nothing going on until day 2 of training camp, or the year before that, day before training camp when he had the appendicitis. So it's just bubble wrap this guy. Don't let him just take care of him. Let him walk out the field on.
Stay at Fashion Week, Joe. Just stay at Fashion Week.
Right, shirtless with just the blazer. Also, I cannot pull that off.
If he hadn't just signed the extension, how much Justin Jefferson talk to the Bengals would there have been this week?
I know.
With those two hanging out all week.
I know.
At Fashion Week together. T. Higgins and JaMarr Chase are on their own vacation, and Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson are on a vacation together.
Well, you also see who got paid and where they are. They're hanging out at Fashion Week, whereas the other guys are just out on the beach somewhere. Waiting to get. Not that either of those guys are hurting. I think T will be okay with $22 million. And I don't know how much Chase has made so far, with signing bonuses, even though he's still on his rookie deal. Being the 4th or 5th overall draft pick, you're still not hurting.
Chase is a big-time athlete for Nike, their whole football brand, too. So I'm sure Chase isn't hurting.
They're doing just fine. They're able to afford a little bit nicer stuff than you and I can do. So
exactly.
All All right, quick rundown of our other shows. Riverfront Red Show, that will be out tomorrow morning. We're going to drop this for you on Thursday evening for you guys. They're doing a draft night.
On the River Night Red Show tonight.
What's that?
Tim Daniel on the River.
Tim's on, yeah, and they are. It's a draft show. Drafts are always fun. I was asked to be honored. We have baseball tonight at 8:30. Unfortunately, can't do it. It's always fun to get on with those guys. Again, the NBA show, that was 4 hours of draft coverage yesterday. How many beverages were consumed during those 4 hours?
I had a couple. I had quite a few. By the end of it, I was ready to fall asleep. I'm not gonna lie. I was just had a couple little vodka sodas, homemade. So I was drinking those, just chilling. I think I had like a Coors Light or two as well. So
nothing wrong with that. As always, Late Night Reds live every Sunday night, 9 p.m. with Tim and Ben. Red Leg Roundtable with Seth Shaner. He had broadcasters Matt Andrews and Jim Kelch on his last episode. Again, everyone, any questions, drop us team@riverfrontcincy.com. Parker, any partner thoughts before we get out of here for the week?
Not really. Start stuttering. Football, hurry the fuck up, please. Football season, please.
I know the Reds aren't even going to be interesting. It's again, if you're not going to be good, be interesting, and they're really not. Ellie's been fun to watch, and that's pretty much it. Like, let's get on with it.
Yeah, because I'm just sitting here thinking right now, and like the Reds, man, that's why baseball season, you got to find other things to look forward to. Like, you got to look forward to like Ellie putting up big numbers and stuff. That's what I look forward to right now.
I mean, it would be nice to look forward to front office that tries to put the best 26 players that they can, acquire on the roster, but we don't try doing that. Like, guys get hurt and like, we'll just figure it out.
Well, it's also nice when Ellie was on pace for 130 stolen bases, and then they randomly stopped stealing him. I don't know what happened with that. He doesn't steal anymore.
It's weird because I mean he's on a heater right now. I mean he's hitting. I mean part of it is hitting a lot of doubles and triples, and the other part is
they just don't send him though either right now.
And a couple times he's run on the first pitch, and guys behind him, whether it's Candy or whether it's whoever, they're not giving him a pitch to run on, like just swinging on the first pitch and popping up or whatever. So
yeah,
let him run. It's fun to watch him run. Again, think about us as fans. You guys are going to suck. You're going to end up with 75 wins, nothing to write home about. So at least give us something entertaining. And watching Ellie run the bases, that's entertaining.
Agreed.
So
very entertaining.
Anyway, y'all have a good week. We will be back here next week. Parker's Fields. I'm Joe Farsing. See y'all later.